want to try a new format of video today. I want to have a kind of a casual conversation with you guys about the future of indie horror. So as you guys know, I'm developing my own game. It's called Indigo Park. As a YouTuber that creates content in this space while developing a game in it, I feel that it's important to kind of keep up to date with what other games are coming out, what other games are doing, and just kind of like absorb as much of this content as I can, right? So today I kind of wanted to go through and just casually go and take a look at different indie horror games that are coming out. So yeah, this will be kind of new for me. So let me know what you guys think about stuff. So yeah, when it comes to indie horror, the first game that I think everyone talks about right now at least, is Poppy Playtime. Poppy Playtime saw a ton of success with its first 2 chapters, and everybody's fully anticipating chapter 3. This is kind of the one that everyone's highly anticipating. I'm gonna go and play the trailer while I'm talking about this. The deal with Poppy Playtime chapter 3, right? They dropped the information that it was gonna come out in December. Everybody got hyped up for December. Unfortunately, they had to delay it, right? So now everybody's kind of sitting around expecting it to come out in January. I'm pretty sure they said it's coming out in January. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a really important piece of like the indie horror sphere right now. And I think one key thing that you're gonna start seeing with other indie horror games as well. This game is not afraid to take a deeper and darker look into the scene. I think previously with Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 and 2, the amount of blood was like fairly minimal. And you see with a lot of the other games now, especially like Banban. Banban, there's like no blood in it. It's not gory at all. Even especially from shots like this. And there's another shot from the reveal trailer, which I'll bring up in a minute. They are just being unapologetically like gory and horror based. And I think we're seeing kind of a backward swing when it comes to censoring your content, where for the longest time, people were scared to show blood because, oh, YouTube might demonetize it, right? Now game developers are seeing that people really care about like the horror aspect, about getting kind of gory, getting a little bit bloody with it. So we're starting to see kind of a full swing back where I'm expecting a lot of these games to get really graphic. In particular, Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, I think has the potential to end up really dark. Especially from like some of the supplementary content they've been releasing, like the little analog horror type things that they were dropping like beginning of last year, I think. Is it this one? Yeah. This one's where you kind of see like this first look into like the bloody horror of it, right? It's opening with like pure destruction, but you get pretty graphic with it. And like I said, that's not something that generally we're seeing much of. And I think this is kind of our first look into this new era of indie horror. I think there's a demand from people playing these games for it to be realistic, kind of gritty and dark. And I for one am down for it. I think the scary shit's awesome. I think it's really cool. Yeah, the whole like decapitation thing. The shot that I wanted to show was the huggy shot where it's like bloody. Yeah, right here. Like blood quite literally dripping down. Like I'm pretty sure, doesn't it show like a drop? Yeah, like there's blood there. It's dripping. Pretty sure, yeah, see it drips from there. They're trying to get a little bit more graphic with it. And I think that's an important key point going into what we're talking about now. I've had the honor of working with and talking to some people who were able to work on Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. You guys might know Apostle. They did some of the animation for like the smiling critters and some of the design there. But there is a question as well of how is the series going to kind of treat itself after Chapter 3. The big news coming out of Mob Games was that a lot of the higher up creatives at it all kind of left at once, basically citing, I believe they were citing like creative differences managerially, like with their managers and with like higher ups in the company. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chapter 3 is from the creative minds that kind of brought this all together. How do they recoup in Chapter 4? So I don't know. I'm excited for it. The latest news from it, though, is that a handful of content creators, I'm assuming people who are probably in like the Mob Games like creator program or whatever, actually got to see an early cut of the second trailer. For example, It's Just Jord. Yes, I've seen an early cut of the second trailer. Ethan also saw it. I've officially seen it. It's nuts. They are trying to keep hype up and trying to release at least show the work in progress for this new trailer, right? So that kind of leads me to believe that the game isn't actually going to come out in January. They've been saying January, but there's 11 days left in it. And it's kind of weird that we don't have the second trailer yet. And it's also weird that this was yesterday, right? It's weird that they're showing creators the work in progress one, the early cut. Like, why are they not showing the full trailer? So that leads me to believe that there's some kind of issue going on with the development and that it probably won't come out until like next month. I don't really know. But we'll just have to see. I'm excited for it. Like I said, they're kind of like the big player right now. So I think they're one of the most important people to look at when it comes to the indie horror scene. And I genuinely think that with this series going in a darker direction, that everything else will kind of swing back and also end up a little bit darker. Looking at the next game that I want to talk about today, there is an upcoming game called Finding Frankie. I don't know how many people have actually heard of it. I think I first discovered this game on TikTok, but I reached out to them and I've actually had some pretty good conversations with the developers of the game, just in terms of like, what are you guys doing to market your game? The whole idea of Finding Frankie is it's less about like the indie horror stuff. Like, sure, it's all there, but it's basically like the best way to put it looking at gameplay. It's like a Roblox obby with indie horror elements, right? Which is interesting. I think there's definitely room to see some really, really exciting stuff come out of this game. I guess the whole element is the whole idea is it's like one of those trampoline parks. So, you know, pretty general idea to other indie horror games as well. But I think visually this game, thanks Jake Neutron, this game definitely looks really interesting. And I think this one's going to be heavily gameplay focused, which is something that you don't really see as much of in the like indie horror space, right? This is going to be more focused on like parkour movements and utilizing different like platforms to navigate the area, which is something, again, like, I mean, if you look at like Indigo Park when it comes out, I hate to admit it, but it's mostly a walking simulator for a good chunk of the game because you're going around, you're looking for secrets, you're interacting with Rambly as a character. This one definitely has more of a focus on here's how you jump around this environment that we've created. And it has the indie horror elements. So I find that really interesting about it. And talking to the developers, like they are very passionate about what they're making. And that's something that I think a lot of indie horror needs to look at is like developing the world and characters and like developing gameplay and developing what we're trying to make here. Because I think a lot of people are just kind of like, I think there's a handful of people like trying to cash in on stuff. But I genuinely like can see the passion and the love here. So I'm hoping it does well. I'm going to be playing it the second it comes out. I'll be supporting it. Apparently they're releasing their second trailer sometime soon-ish. I saw on Twitter that they announced that like it's almost done or something. So we'll see. I think Finding Frankie is definitely one that you guys need to look at for sure. If you're trying to keep an eye on like the indie horror sphere. And again, like looking at this, there's not really anything like natural. Like a lot of these enemies definitely seem more like not animatronic, but just like mechanical, I guess. Animatronic, not really. So obviously like there's not gonna be as much blood, but like the dark gritty look of it, like it's still colorful, but everything's like jacked up dark gritty. So I think we're kind of moving in that direction. So it's definitely an important one to look at. Now, the big boy that we got to talk about, because it's been getting a lot of traction on different social medias, is Zoochosis. Basically, in real life, Zoochosis or however you want to pronounce it, is a real life, I guess, psychological term for animals that are stuck in a zoo. And this game, if you haven't seen the trailer for it, kind of plays into that. Starts out kind of cute, and then this giraffe starts puking his shit up. And then you got all these fucked up monsters, right? The idea is really cool. It's these animals are just turning into terrifying monsters, and you're working as a zookeeper to take care of them. And I definitely like a lot of these. I don't know how much of this is actually gameplay versus like a cutscene, but if this is primarily gameplay and like what the game is actually going to look like, it's beautiful, it's terrifying, it's fucked up. And it's something that I think the Indigo Park dev team, if you guys are watching, we need to be taking a look at, because it's exactly like what we're going for. It's like these animals have been mistreated and they're fucked up, you know? So I think there's a lot of potential here, you know, kind of a new game on the block, but here's the real drama, not the drama, the real tea that you guys aren't ready. You guys ready to see something cool? This is gonna, I think a lot of you guys know what's up with this game, but some of you guys don't. And I think a lot of people don't realize, oops, my bad, who's developing this game. So let's go to the Steam page, right? Okay, Zoochosis, wishlist now. I'll add to my wishlist, right? Sure. Who's making the game? Clapperheads. What did Clapperheads make? A while back, about a year ago, we played a game, not a little under a year ago, we played a game called Sparky Marky. It's the same developers, if you guys remember this game. This came out shortly after the success of Banban 1, and this game was kind of released with mixed emotions. A lot of people didn't like it because they felt like it was a cash grab of the mascot horror genre. Some of the ideas that it was presenting was kind of confusing. Personally, for me, when I played it, I really enjoyed it. The only mechanic I didn't really like in it is that they wanted you to like be in their Discord and like insert Discord commands as you're playing it. And that kind of left like the story feeling kind of weird and awkward, but like as a game, it was programmed really well. It felt pretty well optimized. Everything ran right. It had some cool mechanics. So I think, you know, coming off of a project like this, and clearly they're planning a little bit more with the Sparky Marky series, I think coming off of this and going into Zoochosis, I think this is a perfect recipe for peak to be generated, because we're coming off of developers that really know what they're doing and took all of the criticism that they can get from Sparky Marky to create something new and beautiful. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops, because I really do think there's a good chance for Zoochosis to be like super, super massive. It claims to be body cam type. You don't see as much of that. Like this shot has more of a body cam shot. But most of the stuff in the trailer doesn't really have a body cam look, so we'll have to see how they go with that. I've definitely experimented with that. Not the look that I was particularly wanting for Indigo Park, but yeah, it's really exciting to see how this could potentially grow into something very massive. I think that's about all I have to say on it. Just keep an eye on this project, because I think this could be really, really big. We're definitely going to play it the second it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. The next game on my list, because I want to get this out of the way, I'm developing my own game, Indigo Park. I haven't put out too many update videos on it just because I've been busy working on it. I've been working on concept art for a Roblox game that's unrelated to Indigo Park. And I've been doing like the YouTube and streaming stuff along with school and everything. So I've been keeping busy. So generally I've kept kind of quiet about what exactly we're doing with it. I think we're still on track to release chapter 1 in early quarter 1 of 2024. Not early quarter 1, but sometime in quarter 1 of 2024. If you guys don't know what Indigo Park is, it's a mascot horror game where you break into an abandoned theme park and meet the AI assistant that used to help guests around the park, Rambly the raccoon. In that sense, we took a lot of inspiration from like Portal and all of that stuff. I'm really proud of how far this game has come. We're gonna be posting a lot more like development screenshots over on my Patreon and stuff here in the near future. But again, I'm just at the point now where I'm kind of waiting on like a few key assets to get done as far as like animation and stuff, and then we can really like dig deep and get stuff put together. Every day, like massive work is getting done on this project. We're pouring our hearts into it. It's really cool. I wish I had more information for you guys. I could show you guys a little screenshot. The next trailer that you guys see for Indigo Park is going to be the release date announcement trailer. Basically, whenever I know the game's coming out, like the second I know the date it's coming out, we're going to drop a trailer that tells you guys when it's coming out. Hopefully like a couple weeks before launch, so we have time to like do some extra testing and stuff. But yeah, we'll see. Do you plan on adding any more characters? There are more characters that are made that won't ever appear in chapter 1, but the success of chapter 1 will create chapter 2, and from there. Is the dragon going to be in the first chapter? What dragon? How long will the game be? We're aiming for like 30, 45 minutes for chapter 1, and then further chapters hopefully be longer. Here is a look at one of the areas directly inside of the park. Again, this is all in development, so it's a work in progress. This could all change. But to give you guys a look at as to what's beyond the gate. Here's an area inside, and it's running pretty well too so far. So we have a bunch of quality options and stuff. So people have asked to see more of the playground area that we've shown off in some trailers. Here's a work in progress look of that, kind of give you an idea of what areas you may be looking around for. It's tough. I'm gonna show more stuff on the Patreon. I just can't show you guys too much yet, because I don't want to give away the entire game before it comes out, but we're doing our best to make a cool looking game. That's all I can tell you. I think that's all I want to say about it for now. Go wishlist it on Steam, check out the Patreon. The key like takeaway from Indigo Park is probably like the rambly animation and stuff. Let's see, is there any that I can show you? I got to be careful about what, I want to show you guys some work in progress animation. Here you go. Here's a work in progress animation of Rambly.
Looks like the park is going through some renovations. For the inconvenience, your Rambly Tuesday discount will be 3% off.
That's all I'm going to show you right now. But basically, there's a ton of animated scenes with Rambly in the game, which the player will be able to interact with. And I think he's kind of he's like our main selling point, I guess. Like, I really care about him a lot. The next game I definitely want to dive into is being developed by Super Horror Bro. If you guys might have seen their channel, generally they cover a lot of different like indie horror games as they come out. I'm sure you guys, if you guys have seen my channel, you've probably seen theirs as well. But they have released, or they're working on a game called Glitched Out. And I guess I can kind of show the trailer. Again, I'm not playing any audio, so I can talk over these, but Glitched Out, I'm not 100% sure of the plot. I haven't really looked that deep into it other than like seeing development screenshots and stuff. But I love the style of this game. It's like a super simple, like painterly kind of style. It's really good. Spence, who I've talked to and I was trying to get them on for Indigo Park, is doing a lot of the animation for it. But yeah, I mean, this is another game that I think you really need to keep an eye on. It's similar to Indigo Park in the way that, again, like it's a YouTuber who's kind of taking initiative and making their own game. And it seems pretty freaking dope. If you guys haven't checked out the trailer for this already, I highly recommend you go take a look, because it's pretty sick so far. Everything they've shown off is really interesting, really good. I'm excited for it. Tells the story of an IT engineer named Lex who wakes up in a government research facility to learn a malware has run rampant. The facility is home to many alien entities who have escaped containment and now stalk our hapless hero through the complex. So yeah, that's kind of the general idea. Looks like a lot of fun. Like, I genuinely think this game's gonna like hit hard when it drops. I have no clue when they're dropping it, but this is a game that like I'm extremely excited for, just because you could tell it's another passion project. You know, I think there's something cool about like all of these indie, and I guess this is kind of the takeaway here, is that we're starting to see other indie game developments kind of come up from like these channels that have been exposing themselves to all the tropes and all the things you see. Like, there's a reason why I think Indigo Park has so much love into it, is because I've been wanting to develop a game for years, and I'm a huge fan of like Disney and everything, you know? So it's like, I have so many ideas. My mind just keeps like going insane anytime I'm getting ready to work on Indigo Park. And I have to believe this is a very similar thing going on for Super Horror Bro. It's like, you expose yourself and you make videos on all of these indie horror games for years, and then you get the opportunity with that to have a little bit of a budget and kind of whip up an exciting new game. So I think that's a good big thing to keep an eye on, is like these projects coming from these YouTubers. There's no way in hell any of them are going to be like cash grabs, because they're passion projects that are coming directly from people who play these kinds of games for a living, right? So I'm excited to see how this one shapes up. It's similar to Indigo in that way. And, you know, of course, I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is another one that you really need to keep an eye on. The next game I want to talk about is actually a little bit bigger of a game. I don't really know where I'm going to get, because there's not really a trailer out. I think there's a Steam page up for it. Coming in from Joey Drew Studios, it's the one, the only Bendy the Cage. The whole plot of Bendy the Cage is, I believe you're playing as Henry, as he's escaping the prison from Bendy and the Dark Revival to get to the ending of Bendy and the Dark Revival, where all the characters are there. I'm not like super versed in the Bendy lore. We've played all of the games on stream at different times. I really enjoy them. But what they're kind of advertising this project as is a darker, more horror-based Bendy experience. It's a scarier Bendy. So I think, again, like I said, we've been living in a world where all of these games have been super scared to touch like blood and the gore and still make it like horror-based, like horror for kids. And I think we're starting to see that pendulum swing back. All of these developers want to make scary shit. They want to make badass shit. And this is exactly what Bendy the Cage is going to be. No doubt in my mind. This shit's going to be scarier. It's going to be bloodier. It's going to be gory. I'm excited for it. They haven't given too much information about the game other than releasing some screenshots here and there on their Twitters. But I mean, like the Meatly and everybody that works on Bendy, like it's going to be great. It's going to be insane, no matter what they do. So I'm excited to see a trailer come out for this. There's a lot to think about when you're talking about a game like this. There's a lot of potential for sure. They're saying it comes out in 2024, which is crazy to think about, but hey, you know, we'll see. If they can drop it in 2024, I'm all for it. That's awesome. But I think it's gonna be scary. Speaking of Bendy, what are your thoughts on the reveal of a Bendy movie? I think the Bendy movie is gonna be interesting because we're gonna see how these other indie horror games are gonna take doing a bigger project. After the bombshell that was FNAF, right? The FNAF movie was great. It was critically acclaimed. It was a massive project. So how do Bendy and Poppy Playtime compete? And Lord knows we're probably getting a Garten of Banban movie at some point, or at least like a short series or something. Like, how do these other franchises, who I don't want to say are competing, but are in the same like universe, how do they compete? And that's a big question. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I think it's an important thing to keep a look at. They're clearly working on the movie and working on like a darker themed game now. So let's have to see. I really don't know. I'll be excited. I don't know. Is it going to be released in theaters? Do we know? like me living in kind of like a rural, weird area. Like, can I just go to my movie theater and watch the Bendy movie? Like, I don't know. So we'll have to see. The next game series that I really want to talk about, isn't actually getting anything too crazy news-wise, but I felt like it was important to talk about because people keep asking me about it. The Euphoric Brothers and Garten of Banban. So we're coming off of Garten of Banban 6. If you want my opinion, I think in terms of the games, Garten of Banban 6 was probably like my least favorite of the recent ones, just because it didn't do anything like too different. I did like the lighting mechanic. I like that they're introducing new mechanics and stuff. But you can check out my playthrough of that to kind of give my opinion. As far as upcoming games from Banban, we're looking at Banban 5 potentially coming out sometime this soon. And they're already advertising Banban 7. But what I need to talk to you guys about is a tweet that they made, it would have been like a couple weeks ago now, the Euphoric Partners program. So if you guys are familiar with like Five Nights at Freddy's, they announced and did a whole project that I don't think we actually have any games from besides like spin-offs of the games that got signed on. But it's called the Fanverse Initiative. The whole idea is that Scott was paying out money to fan game creators to make the games official spin-offs in a way. Basically meaning that they're officially licensed. They don't really have any impact on the actual story and world of Five Nights at Freddy's. But in exchange, Scott gets like a cut of the sales and gets to like make merch and get a cut of that from characters that are fan made. That kind of stuff. The Euphoric Brothers saw this and thought, hey, let's give it a shot. We want to do a fan game initiative where we help fund fan games. They have a website, or they have a page on their website kind of detailing what exactly that would mean. Basically coming down to, we'll officially license products that use our characters and names commercially, which will give us money, but you'll also receive financial support and marketing from us. And that's kind of the general idea. Now, I'm sure you guys know the reason why I've been getting my DMs blown up about this. Let's go take a look at my most popular video and what got me into game development. Of course, I recreated Garten of Banban in 1 week. I made a project called Reincarnated, which was my attempt to learn Unreal Engine in a week and remake Garten of Banban just for fun. The key thing here is, and the reason I'm bringing this up, I applied to this initiative. And I know I'm going to get some hate for that, but I applied. I liked working on Reincarnated. I thought it was kind of just a fun time, and it was like a good side project. So here's my thing. If the Euphoric Brothers are willing to and want to work with me on Reincarnated, basically being like the FNAF Plus of the partner program, I'm totally down for it. My focus for now and going forward is definitely going to be on Indigo Park. It's definitely like my thing that I want to do. But at the same time, I have a ton of ideas for Reincarnated. I still actively play all the Banban games when they come out because I like the story of two brothers making a game that's actually really successful. And I like the idea in my mind of being able to kind of reinterpret some of their story ideas and stuff in like a non-canon kind of darker way. So I'm not telling you guys to like, don't go and like spam the Euphoric Brothers asking for Reincarnated, but I did my best. I applied for it and I made a Twitter post. So if they are willing to work with me on that and they want to, I'm more than willing to completely redo Reincarnated 1, do Reincarnated 2, but it's kind of up to them. So it's out of my control at the moment. I don't really have any contact with them at this point, but I know a lot of people have been asking for a follow-up to Reincarnated, being Reincarnated 2, 3, 4, and development onward. But I don't know. At the moment, it's kind of out of my hands. If they want to work with me, awesome. If not, no big deal. So yeah, that's kind of my news with that. I'm anxiously waiting 5 and 7. Euphoric Brothers, if you want me to work on Reincarnated, let's have a conversation. I am totally down. The last big game I kind of want to talk about today, and of course there's a ton of other indie horror games coming out, so if there's a game that I didn't talk about, leave a comment wherever you're watching this, probably on YouTube. There's a game called Subliminal. It's basically a super realistic looking like backrooms type game. If you guys haven't seen this, it does look really good. I am on their Patreon because I just want to support projects like this. But this starting part is just kind of talking about like exploring the area. But they do a really good job of utilizing the Unreal Engine. This is gameplay footage. Whether or not that's going to be super optimized on all computers, I don't really know. But the whole idea of it is like, damn, this looks realistic. It's like scarily real. They do a good job of utilizing a lot of post-processing effects, the camera shake and everything. And the whole selling point of the game so far is like, damn, look how real this looks. And I again, like, I don't know how optimized it actually is. I haven't really played any of the betas they put on their Patreon because one, I don't want them thinking that I'm like, I'm like stealing ideas for Indigo Park or something, but I am supporting them because I do genuinely think this is going to be a massive project. It looks really good. And from what I've heard, it's actually running pretty darn well for how realistic it is. I mean, that living room scene is just like crazy. This living room scene is just like that looks insane. So again, this is another big project that I personally would keep an eye on. If you're a fan of like backrooms type games, this Subliminal stuff is actually gonna be insane. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential with this. I don't know exactly how I feel about like the monsters they've introduced to the game. The environments look really, really good. So, and it's definitely a deal where like I'm looking at the trailers for this and it's definitely like getting my brain going for how we can make the game look. Yeah, I think it's good. I'm really excited to see what they do with it. I think for now, that is all I have in terms of talking about indie horror games. Again, if there's any games you guys that I didn't cover that you guys care about, leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube.